What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. As you can see, we are in the truck. We're on our way to True Automotive right now. Today's actually a really exciting day. We are finally going to be installing the 12-inch Locked Offroad smooth body shocks with the Archive Garage relocation kit. So we'll as soon as we get there, I'll dive in and basically show you guys what you need to do for the 12-inch shocks, because the lower shock mount needs to be at a certain degree angle as well as a certain distance away from the hub assembly on the actual axle. But as soon as I get there, we'll dive in and we'll basically show you guys what to do. Let's go.
Alright guys, Austin here at True Automotive. Today we're going to be working on Josh's, aka TheDarkYota's Tacoma. We're going to be installing an Archive shock relocation kit paired with Locked Offroad 12-inch Smoothies shocks. Stay tuned.
So once you guys have your truck in the air, wheel off, you've unbolted these lines here. Same with over the axle as well. Obviously, remove your old shock, old resi. I do have to raise this bump stop, which I had to do anyway. But we're gonna move on to the next step, which is gonna be getting rid of this. So that should be fun, lots of sparks. Let's get cutting. So what we're actually doing now is we're gonna remove the whole bump stop, the whole bracket essentially, just because when we cut the OEM shock tower, it's super close to that bracket and we don't want to have to accidentally cut the bracket or notch the bracket or whatever. So we're just going to remove the whole bump stop kit, and then we're going to cut off the OEM shock tower, the OEM lowers for on the axle there, and then clean it up and start welding. So that is now out of the way. So now we have all this room over here to cut, not to worry about anything. So what we're gonna do is cut here, have to weld here, cut over here, get this OEM shock tower removed. Then from there, we go into, I don't know if you guys can see it, we'll cut off this guy here because this gets relocated as part of the kit as well. And they send you a whole new lower shock mount from Archive. So let's see, it is shock bolts, these guys, they're friggin' beefy. Nicely done. Yeah, those will replace the OEM lowers, and then obviously to replace the OEM uppers are these beefy things. Alright, let's go watch Ben cut.
Pretty much we're just coming in here, cutting these welds, and then right where they penetrate, right in here, we're going to cut those in half, and then we'll come in here with an air hammer and then pop this off so we can get it off. And then this top one we'll cut a little more off and then grind it down as much as we can. And then once these are off, we'll grind this smooth.
And it looks like you cut this back to get this piece off because you couldn't get at it from the top, right?
Yep. So we cut just a big majority out of there so we could get back there and just kind of chipping away at it more and more.
So while Ben is grinding and using the air hammer away, I am working on my rear hydros. If you guys followed along before, you'll know that they were set just a little bit too low and I would hit the bumps before I should have. And what that was doing was limiting my up travel, right? Welcome to vlogging in a shop. But now they should be set. I set them up like 2 inches higher, so we should be good. But it's just gonna be a trial and error thing. I'm just gonna have to keep adjusting them as I go. So real quick, here's the difference. Here's the OEM length, Locked Offroad kit. This is where it stops. Here is the 12-inch. Goes down to there. And you can see the resis side by side, much bigger. So it looks like Ben has most of the upper shock tower taken out, and I think he's happy with it enough to where he's grinding it all down, gonna clean it all up and make it all nice and smooth and flat. So he has a nice, clean, flat surface to then have Austin weld on the new shock towers by Archive Garage. I don't know if you guys can see Ben behind me. Looks like he's got the plasma cutter out now, so to get that lower shock mount off. So might be easier if you have a plasma cutter to do this at home, but if you don't, I'm sure you could grind it out. Just be super careful. Once he's done with this side, we'll start mocking stuff up and start having Austin come in and start welding stuff up. Should be cool.
Came in here with a solid valve, got rid of most of it, and then I was able to come in with my angle grinder and then cut the remainder off and then grind it smooth. So now we got a nice flat axle tube to start putting the lower shock brackets on, and then now I'm going to cut the upper shock bracket and get this thing going. So this is the old shock mount, so it went in there just pretty much like this. So now we're going to take this new one, which is a lot beefier. And yeah, you can tell it's just built a lot better, and this side is going to be able to take rocks a lot more. We're going to be able to drag them on rocks and not have that big of a deal as pushing that little thing.
So quick update, Ben has cut everything off of here, smoothed it out, it's clean. So this is going to be where the relocation is going to go. He's also got both sides done for the axle, so where the lower shock mount would have gone. Both sides are now off. Now he is currently working on the other side. So we're going to remove the hydro bump on that side. Then he's going to do the same thing. Cut off the other side just like this, smooth it out, clean it up, so it's ready to be welded on.
Alright, so right now we're just getting the towers into place. And so we just like to be aligned with this, and then 1/8 of an inch behind this hole. And so they'll just sit up in here like this, pretty much just like that. I'm going to mark this off with a silver Sharpie, grind all the paint off so we can get a good clean weld. I had to come in here and cut just a little bit out of the fender liner. No big deal at all. I had to do the same thing on the other side. And yeah, these things all welded in there.
So the other side's all cleaned up, and he's marking of where else he needs to clean up to make clean welds. On the driver's side, you're going to have a bracket right here. You guys can see where you have to cut it so that the plate can actually sit up in there flush. But don't worry, because that Archive relocation actually gets welded into here, so it doesn't lose rigidity. As you guys can see so far, it's a lot of cutting, grinding down, making sure your surface is clean. So when you do weld, you have nice, clean, strong welds. Ben is currently marking off where the plate is going to go, the Archive plate is going to end up, so that way he can make sure to grind all of that to bare metal. So when they weld that plate on, it's a nice, clean, strong weld, and it's going to be able to take some abuse. Once they weld all that stuff on, they're going to hit everything with Steelit that's bare, so then that way nothing rusts or gets weak, anything like that. You can see him right now. He's going at it with the grinder to make sure it's all nice and clean to get that relocation tower in place and get ready to weld that thing on. But yeah, lots of cutting, lots of grinding, cleaning, making sure everything lines up nicely and looks clean. To basically a lot of prep work. We'll get into the welding here in a minute. So now that everything is clean on the truck and ready to be kind of welded up, you can see it's all nice and bare, clean, good surface to be basically welded. What Ben was doing a second ago is basically grinding off this paint that comes with the Archive tower. So this way when they weld it to the actual frame, it's bare metal to bare metal for a strong weld. And he did it kind of all the way around where it's going to be making contact with the frame of the truck. Once this is actually welded up into the truck, they'll hit everything with a couple coats of Steelit so nothing rusts and it stays nice and strong and basically like new.
So now we got the shock towers all tacked in place. want to make sure they are up and flush with these little pockets up here in the frame. And so you pretty much just put them up there and then make sure there's a little bit of gap between that bolt hole. And so now we're going to weld them up on both sides. You do have to grind down the paint on these so you can get a nice and clean weld. And so we're going to weld on here and on the back side. And then I did the same thing on the other side. And then we're going to do the lower shock mount. So I got all the mill scale off, as you can see. And I have this fancy angle finder. And so since these are 12-inch shocks, we're going to do at 0 degrees. So it'll be around something like that. And so it'll be nice and flush. And then this is going to be the perfect angle for these shocks to work perfectly. And then from here to here, it's going to be 1.5 inches. And then that's going to make sure these shocks aren't going to be hitting the frame or the leaf spring. And it'll be perfect.
Austin's up in there now, laying down some dimes. Woo! That's gonna look good. Can't wait to get these bad boys on there. So nice. You guys can kind of see from some of the slow motion shots I got, comparing the OEM length kit to the 12-inch. So nice. Both kits are great. I ran the OEM length kit for probably almost 2 years. Never did me wrong. I absolutely love the kit. I'd probably get them rebuilt every year, 2 years, but I've never had an issue. So Austin just finished welding everything up. So lower shock mount welded in place. Archive shock tower mounted in place. I'll show you guys these welds. Did a killer job. Now Ben's gonna come in, clean everything up and paint everything, and then we start reassembling everything, putting the bumps back on, putting on the parking brake lines, any lines that we disconnected running across the axle, and then basically put it back on the ground. Then it's done. Can't wait to see how it sits though. I'm actually gonna go test these things out tonight. So we're gonna go hit, I think it's Slaughterhouse or somewhere around there for a night run and then camp out there tonight. But yeah, I'm gonna try these things out literally tonight. I can't freaking wait.
Alright, so after we got all our welding done, we got the lower shock mounts all welded in and the tower's all fully welded up. So now I'm just gonna go around with a wire wheel and a drill and just get off all this, all of the stuff from welding, and that way when we throw some steel on it, it's gonna make it nice and good sticking, and it's not gonna fall off it.
So there you guys go. We are on the home stretch to the Tacoma having the 12-inch Smoothies put on. So from here, once he's done cleaning, as I make you dizzy, once he's done cleaning up all the welds, he's gonna spray it with some Steel It, put a couple coats of that on there. Once that's all dried up, we're gonna start putting everything back on that we took off, right? So put the shock up there, bolt everything up. You have to run wheel spacers when you do these things. So I have an 1.25 inch, I think they're Spider tracks or Spider or something. 1.25 inch spacers so that the tire and the wheel can actually clear and not hit the shock body of the new shock. Then we have to throw in the hydro bumps and just kind of work our way backwards. And from there, once everything's back on, everything's zip tied, all the lines are zip tied back up, diff breathers, chase light cables and all that fun stuff, then put it on the ground, take it for a drive, and she'll be done. Alright guys, so we're at the point where shocks are mounted. Let's see, make you see it a little bit. There you go. So the shocks are now mounted up. The bump stops are back in place. Now we're drilling holes in the frame back here to mount the resi where we want it to go. when mounting your resi, make sure that it's bright. You want it to be angled a little bit like that, so that your resi isn't sitting down right there. And little pro tip from Mr. Ben, you put a heat shrink on the clamp for your coilover or for your resi, so then it's black on black,
and it doesn't scratch the resi.
Yeah, and then you also don't have metal on metal scratching the resi, so you can't even tell. It looks way cleaner, but yeah. All right, one side is completely done. Check this out. I cannot wait to wheel this weekend. So we've got large resis, compression adjustment there, locked hydros, moved them up about 2 inches so they make contact when they're supposed to now. We've got the 2.5 inch shock body, 12 inches long, all mounted up with the Archive Garage relocation kit, top and bottom. Yeah, these guys absolutely killed it. Ben, amazing job. Austin, amazing job. I cannot wait to get this thing out on the trail tonight. That's a whole nother video. We're doing a whole night run tonight and camping, so stay tuned for that one as well. So Ben is finishing up the install here with some 1 1/4 inch wheel spacers. So if you guys want to run a similar setup like this, 12 inch smoothie, triple, whatever, you're going to have to at least run a 1.25 inch spacer. And my wheels are 17 by 8.5 with a -25 offset. So if your offset is lower than that, so like -12, a 0, you're going to need a bigger spacer than this. Just something to keep in mind. Blue Loctite, torque it all down, and then wheel goes on there. Make sure if you do get spacers, Spider Tracks I think it is, get the hub centric. It's on its own weight. So Ben's got everything torqued down. The spacers are torqued to 90 foot-pounds with Blue Loctite. The wheels are torqued to 90 foot-pounds, which is kind of where I like to run them. I think Toyota's spec is like 83, 84, but it's on its own weight. So everything's tight. I'm gonna go test it out tonight. We're gonna go hit, I think, Slaughterhouse or trail near Slaughterhouse and camp out there. So we'll see how it articulates, how everything works. That's a whole different video, but I might have to go long travel up front now. After seeing how much travel this rear end has compared to the front, I might have to go long travel up front. Because when they were lowering it down from the lift, the rear tires hit so much sooner than the fronts did because it just has so much more down travel. Anyways, Ben, thanks for all the work you did on my truck today, man. Appreciate it. You did a killer job. It looks amazing. Austin, thanks for the dime welds. Appreciate everything you guys do for me, do for the truck. Anybody else, if you're new, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you're already subscribed, comment what you think below about the new setup. If you think it's stupid, I think it's sweet. It looks great. Until next time, peace.